Well, this is bizarre. This is very strange. Oh, this is very odd. Well, hello everyone, and just a very quick hello, just to let you know, I'm riding a Zero. I'm on a test ride with a Zero. I won't go into the reason why I'm test riding a Zero on this portion of the video. I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of what I think of this electric motorcycle. I've just ridden out for the day just to give it a bit of a test, and it's unfortunately it's an accompanied ride, so you know, these people don't know who I am. I've just turned up out of the blue, so I'll try to be objective. But right off the bat, right from the start, it's not as weird as I thought it would be. I've only literally gone as far as you've seen this video, because I've just this second left, and already it's a motorbike. You twist the grip and it goes. And this particular model is the Zero S, and it has the 14.5 whatever battery, which is the long range battery, which gives it a theoretical range of somewhere in the range of 120 miles or something of that, if you take it easy. The bike in front of me is the FXR, which is the electric sort of supermoto thing. That only has a 7 whatever battery, which means that is lighter, because this is actually quite a heft at 180 something kilograms, and it is quite a small bike, and you can feel its weight. Now I've got it in eco mode at the moment, and that is throttle fully open. Ooh, hey, the brakes are good. But because I'm in eco mode, and you'll have to please bear with me on this, I don't know a great deal about this bike. I'm kind of just riding it quite as a whim, really. But in eco mode, it does have this regenerative braking, where when you take your hand off the throttle, it regenerates or recaptures some of the lost energy in the form of kinetic energy. Now, I was expecting it to be quite a sharp deceleration, and it isn't. You still have to use the brake quite a lot, and this is just an eco mode, and in eco mode it does not feel phenomenally quick off the mark. Like the reports that I've been hearing about this bike is that it launches like an absolute scolded cat, and in eco mode it does not. But it gets moving quick enough. Yeah, it gets shifting. I'm full throttle again. It's now accelerating through 60. So speed wise it's got enough there to keep up with traffic in this current mode. Now, a bit of a broken surface now, so I need to be careful on here, because this bike does not have traction control, and the torque that it does have, which I'm informed is considerable, and in fact the amount of torque that this bike produces is right on your screen now, because I can't remember off the top of my head, but that is a not inconsiderable amount of torque for such a small little bike. So obviously on this loose surface I'm being a bit careful, not only with the power but with the brake, because brake wise it has a single disc up front, and it's a sort of generic Chinese make of brake apparently, but this manufacturer of brake, I can't remember the name of it again because I've just not done any research, which is very poor, but apparently they have a bit of provenance in the racing world. They do make brakes for some particular racing series, so they're going to be okay. And it's a big single disc on the front, and to be honest, the brakes feel pretty good. A pretty, yeah, there's a lot of initial bite there. And this is a heavy bike and it brings it up quickly. Oh, we're turning around in a pub car park. And there's a lot of modulation there. Okay, just had a little bit of a chat to see how I'm getting on with the... I'm now in sport mode. And straight away, this is much better. Oh yeah, this is really good. Wow, this has some torque. Yep. Yeah, sport mode is where it's at. I like it. It also has a custom map that you can change certain parameters about engine braking, regenerative braking, things like that. You can, apparently at the minute it's set up so that it's got none whatsoever, so it pretty much freewheels when you're off the throttle. But I quite like this sport mode, it feels great. Now it would be the same if it only had the 7 kilowatt whatever battery in it, and of course then you'd be looking at about 30 kilos less weight in the bike. So but then you're only looking at about 40 mile range or something of that, 40-50 mile range, but you'd have a much more sporty range. So yeah, and the torque just picks up right from the bottom. I was going to say from the bottom of the rev range, but there is no rev range, it's just an electric motor. But from the moment you twist the throttle, the torque is there, it's bang, but it's very proportional. It's not like a jerk, it rolls on really nice. It feels, without the sound obviously, and without the all the associated gear changing, it feels almost like you're pulling away on like a big V-twin or something, the way that the torque is so low down. And you can ride it really slow. The throttle is really beautifully proportional. I was expecting it to be a bit of an on-off switch, but it's not. You can roll it, you can drop it back, you can ride it slower than walking pace, and the throttle isn't jerky or anything, and the power delivery, I should say, isn't jerky. Very nice. Handling wise so far, you feel the bike's weight, especially this one with the big battery on it, but you kind of feel the weight almost behind your legs. When you actually sat on the not moving, it feels like there's a lot of heft in it. It's only a little bike, I've got to say, that it's such a little tiny thing. It feels like a 125 to sit on. It's tiny, or a little 250 or something. It's a little tiny whiny thing. And I'm 6'1" and a bit, and I do feel as if I'm a little cramped on it, to be honest, for me. But if you were a bit short in the leg, you'd have no problem riding this, and it would be an absolutely fantastic town bike. But it's not style-wise my kind of thing. It doesn't look too bad. It just looks a bit too small for me, and I feel a bit too small on it, too big on it. But my word, it picks up. It picks up as fast as any big bike you care to ride. It just surges forward and it'll overtake anything. It's really, wow. But it doesn't jerk like a petrol engine would just by doing this with the throttle. It's quite, I don't know what it is, but it's different, but in a kind of familiar way. I've not been floating around trying to grab the clutch or waving my left foot about. It has taken me no time at all to get used to this bike, and it is a bike. There's a lot of people out there who would say, oh, this isn't a motorbike. Well, let me tell you, I've ridden it for a couple of miles now, and that's it. This is still a motorbike. Very good. Okay, now we've had a bit of a swap. I am now on the FX, which is the supermoto version. And straight away it feels a lot lighter because this has only got the 7 battery in it, so it feels much more punchy, and it's basically got the same motor in it. And because it's bigger, it fits my body better. My word, wow. It's got some nice pickup, really has. Yeah, it just feels like a nice. Now this is more like, it feels in between my legs like a 125, something like an old school DT 175 or something like that, or a Suzuki TS 125. That's exactly what it feels like between my legs, but it has this like power, almost like, you know, it's got power and pickup which rivals the MT-09. It absolutely does. You know, maybe on like a, you know, if you ride like a 1000cc sports bike or a big 1000cc, and you rev the absolute clackers off it and drop the clutch, maybe that would keep up with it. But for now, no, it wouldn't. There's absolutely plenty of power in this thing and plenty of torque. I don't know what it's like for top end, you know, for out and out speed, because we're on sort of busy-ish kind of road, so I can't obviously test that. But this is the natural environment for this bike. It's a town bike, it's a street bike, you know, it's not for doing big long distances, it's for doing just this, you know, riding on a surface road amongst traffic. And my god, it minces traffic, it really does. Very impressive. I'm just not sure if I like the size of them, they just seem a bit small for me. Yeah, straight up to motorway speeds, no problem in the blink of an eye. But it does feel like it's kind of topping out a bit. Like on my road bikes, on both my Tiger and my MT-09, I would feel like I had a lot more to give at this point. But this kind of feels like it's about 80 miles an hour and that would be it. But, I don't know, on the road that's plenty if you ask me. But yeah, wow. I'm not sure which I prefer now, whether I prefer the S or the FX. Comfort wise, I think I prefer this one. It's got nice wide bars, nice comfortable seating position where your legs are at a slightly bent angle, just as you would be on a supermoto. It's a lot more comfy seating position. My back is upright. On the S, I was pitched a little bit more forward on the seat. The seating position, for comparison, I would compare to something like a Triumph Street Triple, where you pitch forward onto straight bars. That's the nearest comparison I can give, you know, with my experience. But these, what they're called, J-Juan, the brakes that are on here. They are excellent. The brakes are superb. You've only got the big front disc on it, but more than enough stopping power to modulate to progressive. You know, it's very, very good. I like it. I like the brakes. Absolutely racks. And you've got Showa suspension front and back, which is good quality suspension, fully adjustable. Feels a little bit soft on this, but then again, it is a supermoto style bike. So that is to be expected. It did feel stiffer on the S, I've got to say. But for out and out just rideability, this is, I can see why these are the future. I really, really can. And I tell you what, I'm not scared of the future. And as I was saying before, if you're the kind of person that thinks bikes have to be loud and have to be noisy and have to have gears and all that, you're missing out. Because this is the future, this is the way it's going to go. And if you don't join the future, then you're going to be left behind. Because one thing is for certain, the days of the internal combustion engine are numbered. And I'll tell you because it's just the way it's going. We can't keep burning fuel. The fuel will run out eventually, and this is what you'll be left with. You'll be left with an electric bike, something that either is a hydrogen fuel cell or a battery bike, something like this. But in any ways, this is what you're going to be doing. You're going to be twisting the throttle and proportionately controlling an electric motor. Well, it looks like the test ride's over. So yeah, please, it's just very quick and dirty, I know, but please feel free to ask me some questions in the comments that I've not covered now, and perhaps I can answer any queries you might have, because it's only been a very quick test ride. I can't do a full review on it, but right now I quite like this. See you later. So, just a little bit of a finisher for the test ride I've just done of the Zero S and the Zero FX. Basically, now that I'm back on my Triumph and I'm pootling along with my engine underneath me and my exhaust sounds, you're all going to be thinking, but now you're back on a proper bike, Dave. You really like the engine, don't you, really? You'd miss it, really, wouldn't you? You'd miss that sound and that torque and that pull. To be honest, you know what? No, I wouldn't. It's been a bit of an eye-opener as that, I've got to say. And it's kind of difficult how to vocalise, and I'm really sorry that the first ride there was a little bit light on information, because honestly it was a split last minute decision thing that I was just sat at home. I'd watched a review with one, I got on the phone to the nearest dealer to me, which is about an hour away, and he said, yeah, come down and have a look. So I've not done any kind of research or anything like that. I just thought I'd give them a try, because I've not done a review for a while, and whatever the way you want to look at it, the future is electric, unfortunately, or fortunate, depends on how you want to look at it, because the world is burning to death. Climate change is a real thing, and at some point world governments are going to wake up and want to change things, and at that point things like this will become a dinosaur. There'll be a lot of downward pressure on them with taxation and with fuel tax and things like that, and eventually it'll get to a point where you won't be able to ride your internal combustion engine vehicle on the road anymore, and you kind of either embrace the future or you totally ignore it. But I hear a lot of people say, oh no, I would miss the sound of my engine, I'd miss operating the gears. Electric isn't a real motorbike. Well, I'm a biker, have been for over 33 years or more now, man and boy. And I've always been the kind of person to embrace the future, which is why I've always been endorsing modern motorbikes that have such wonderful inventions as traction control and ABS, whereas other people would say, oh, you don't need that, you don't need that. Well, it makes life better and safer, so why not? And that only a little 15-20 minute ride I had there on those two Zero electric bikes, from that little pootle around, the way those machines, and those weren't the powerful ones either, they were only, I say only, they were 110 Newton meters of torque in those electric motors. I think the top end it produces about 60 odd brake horsepower, which doesn't sound a lot, but 110 Newton meters bloody does, because it is. So you can say what you want about them. They are here, and they are now amongst us, and they are not at all bad. In fact, they are really good. The way that power rolls on, and it is so controllable, it is so user friendly, so smooth, yeah, a little bit characterless, but the sheer joy of wafting along with absolutely bags of torque under your right fist is quite infectious, I've got to say. And it makes these rude mechanical devices like I'm on now seem almost cumbersome in comparison. I mean, I'm having to work so much harder to ride Richard Parker here than I would do on that little Zero. But that is one of the downsides of the Zero at this point, is the size. They are tiny. They are little tiny bikes. They feel like 125s underneath you. They really do. I don't quite like that. But they do I think what they call it, the DSR, which feels much, it's kind of a bit of a dual sport one, bigger than the two that I've ridden, but with the same engine, although they do a 140 Newton meter torque engine on for that. And that, I mean, crikey, if 110 felt like fast, which it did, it felt comparable to my MT-09 to pull away, then 140 will feel fantastic. And coming out soon is what the lads at the dealers back there were describing as the game changer, which is, I think they call it the SRF. I'll put a picture of it up for you now. Now that looks like a good bike. It's pretty smart looking. It's got up to, as an option, I'm sure he said 190 something Newton meters. That will be like a rocket ship. And it's got that same 14.7, I think it's kilowatt hours or whatever it is, 14.7 big battery in it. And that battery, you know, if you ride it in eco and take your time on it, will take you 120 odd miles apparently. Or if you get on it and cane it about the gas, then it's not going to take you anything like that. And my original point being that if you're only riding like a couple of days a week on a Sunday and you do a 100-mile bit of a ride out, then it's plenty. If you commute on your bike, then it's plenty. You know, if you got like a 20-mile commute, you can get there and back full throttle and it's not going to be a problem. You get home, you plug it in the wall, and apparently it costs in the UK about £1.30 to charge it up from full flat. Whereas this thing, for 200 miles, costs me about £22 to fill the tank at current market prices. So there's a saving to be had there, which brings me on to the kind of the big sort of stick in the mud, if you will, with these bikes is the price. Very expensive. The S model I was riding with the big battery, you're looking at in the region of £12,000 for that bike, and it doesn't, to my mind, feel like enough bike for the money. It's, I would say, about £4,000 overpriced for a motorbike of comparable size, weight, usability and power. The DSR with the big battery on it, that will set you back something in the region of 14 something, and this new SRF, when that comes out, you're looking at upwards of £16,500 sterling for that bike. That's a lot of money. You're looking at, like, you know, S1000RR money you're looking at there. You know, it's £16,500 will get you a really nice bike. It will get you a cracking bike. However, there's a caveat to that, and it's a different way to look at it. This bike, I get this service at the Triumph dealer because I'm stupid, and my last service cost me about £106 or something like that. The one before that cost me about 300 odd because it had to be a valve clearance check. And that's just this one bike. Every year you got to get your bike serviced, so there's a couple of £100. In the UK, electric bikes incur no road tax. What on earth are you doing? My word, you are stunned. So there's £100 and something saving there because you're not paying road tax. You are also not refilling a petrol tank at around £20 thereabouts a time. It takes my MT-09 takes about £14 to fill. This takes 20 odd. The MT-09 for my £14 will take me about 107 to 112 miles before it needs fuel, whereas the electric bike costs £1.50 or £1.30 to fill up, albeit it's got to be plugged into a wall and it doesn't happen instantaneously. But you can plan your life around these things. You clock up over the cost of a year, and I'm not going to do it in my head because I am awful at mental arithmetic, but if you factor in lack of road tax, this is only in the UK of course, other countries and states will have a different way of doing it, but you factor in no road tax, no servicing because there isn't any, and no fuel, or at least fuel which is 95% cheaper, then you add up over the course of 1 year how many thousands of pounds you're going to save there. Then you add up that over, say you own the bike for 5 years, how eventually, what I'm saying is, I think that the big outlay of the electric bike will kind of break even at some point, and it won't matter whether you bought a petrol or an electric. It just then comes down to whether you like riding an electric bike or not. And if you're the kind of person that says, no, I would rather pack in biking than buy an electric one, ah well, goodbye, we'll miss you. Because I know if it comes to a choice for me, I would have the electric if there was no other bikes, and I would have the electric over lots of other bikes. So yeah, but anyway, so that is a proper roundup for the Zero S and the Zero FX, little very quick and dirty test rides. So please feel free to ask me in the comments if you've got any questions regarding these two bikes. I will answer them to the best of my ability, but please bear in mind that my experience is based on a very short test ride of both bikes, and all I've got is my visceral feelings as to when I rode them. You know, the brakes are good, the power's good, they're comfortable, they're small, you know, there's a limited amount of pros and cons that I can give you for them at the moment. I might go back and test ride the SRF when that arrives, because that looks a bit kick-ass, because that's going to have all the things you have on a modern bike, including traction control and such lovely things like that, and a ton more power. So yeah, hopefully I'm going to try and get a bit of a relationship with this dealer and see if I can do an official test ride on one of those, rather than just this little quick and dirty one I've done today. So yeah, please don't take this as a review for the Zero bikes, because I don't have enough experience to do an honest review of them yet. But as a little teaser, tasty. I shall leave it with that. Yeah, so take care everyone, ride safe, and I'll speak to you later. Bye bye.